the swarm! Wait, wrong IP. How about praise be to the many-armed God? This is Spruce and Studs, and welcome on in, and I am actually very excited about this review just because of the fact that we need a little bit of a foil. Something different, something more fresh. And obviously, we finally got the Tyranids, and granted, there's only the Termagant as well as the Tyranid warrior that was released. However, we are heading in the right direction with the release of more Xenos. So in this one, we are going to be taking a deep look at the Termagant. So without further ado, let's jump right on in. I don't know, for some odd reason, as I'm looking at this Termagant, how it was packaged, it kind of reminds me of like what? A rat almost about to be dissected, but that's just how I feel about this action figure right here. So anyways, let's take a look at what JoyToy has graced us with this very new action figure. And I can honestly tell you, I am very impressed with the level of detail that JoyToy has imparted across this action figure. You get to see, obviously, very nice shading that's happening in the recesses of this Tyranid's carapace right here. Let's now take a deep dive, starting off with the Termagant's face. And you get to see, obviously, the chitinous carapace here. The level of detail is actually quite phenomenal to me. There is extensive highlighting that is happening with the top of this chitin armor right here. And then as you are looking further on down, there is clearly shading that's happening here in the recesses. This Termagant has a nice yellow looking eyes. What's really interesting about this action figure, you can see these nice sinews for the jaw here. And then there is some very vicious looking sharp teeth. And the nice thing about the teeth here too is that there is a lot of definition here. And there is a hole right here in the middle of the mouth, so that you can fit the tongue into the Termagant's mouth. Now, as we progress on with the arms of this action figure, you get to see all this chitinous carapace that's happening here. Very fine detail with the spinal cord type of decoration right here. The claws are very sharp, very well defined. Plenty of highlighting that's happening on the top of the highest areas of this action figure. And then moving on down to the other arm of this Termagant, this clearly has a pretty wicked type of scything talon right here, or a scything claw. Moving on down to the legs of this Termagant, more beautiful shading. There is a spike right here and kind of like a cloven hoof for the foot of this action figure. And the thigh area mimics the chitinous area on the back of this action figure. There's a lot of detail and depth. I am very impressed with this thing. So that is the body of this action figure. We're just going to take a quick look at the flesh borer. And the flesh borer is something that just mimics the body itself. So there's like a nice continuity that is happening. So the thing that makes the flesh borer a little bit different is that instead of the purple chitinous armor, it's got like a black chitinous top here. There's no shading or highlighting that's happening up top right with the black areas. And clearly there's an area on the flesh borer to attach the spinal column, in which I'll do a second. And then obviously here is the tongue of the Termagant. You have the option of using the longer tongue right here or the shorter tongue. Since this is a new action figure, let's talk about the articulation of it. So with the Termagant's head, the ball and socket joint is right here. You can actually swivel it pretty well, almost 180 degrees. If you wanted to, you could probably do 360 as this thing pops off right here. And this is as much as you can pull the jaw back. With regards to the wrist area, it's full 360 degrees of motion on this one. And then the motion is slightly restricted because of this area on this particular wrist. The elbow section is about 90 degrees of rotation, and that's pretty much it. Same thing with this side, 90 degrees of rotation. There should be 360 degrees of rotation with regards to both of the top arm areas right here with the Termagant. And you can also flex this thing in like this. So there's a good deal of movement that's happening with this. And also with the claw arm, you can move this 360 degrees as well. Same thing with the elbow area about 45 degrees of movement. This area is a little less than 45 degrees, I would have to say. You are actually able to rotate this area 360 degrees, so there's a decent amount of movement in this action figure. There is a joint that is separating the, I suppose, thorax and the abdomen here, but you can rotate this thing 360 degrees. And then moving on to the legs, this is also 360 degrees of rotation as well. There really isn't too much movement right here between the thigh to the knee. It's pretty much static. And then this part, this is as much rotation as you can get. The hoof area, you can actually get 360 degrees of rotation as well. And finally, there is the tail part. You can rotate the tail area 360 degrees, as you can see. This is as much as you can move it down, and this is how much you can move it up. So now we are going to arm this Termagant with its various accessories. I'm going to choose to put the longer tongue here. So you basically put this right here with the flesh bore. As I said, this is the attachment that you push in, and then you fit the handle of the flesh bore into the claw, and it fits really snugly and very nicely. So one quick thing before we close out, obviously I wanted to do a size comparison between a regular Primaris Marine versus the Termagant right here. The Termagant comes up to the bottom of this Space Marine's chest, as you can see right here if I lay the Termagant over the Space Marine. And obviously the height of this Termagant is going to be determined on how much you are going to be putting this action figure on its haunches. If you wanted to pose the action figure a little bit higher, it can be up to the Space Marine's height right here, as you can see, but most of the time Termagants are going to be hunched over anyways. And so that is the in-depth review of this Termagant, and it's now time to wrap up this video. Why can't you stand, man? Every single time you just fall, and now you're just all slouched over. What the heck is going on here? All right, at long last, once again, we have more Xenos, and I love Tyranids. Talking about this action figure, as you heard in my review, I am thoroughly impressed with how JoyToy treated this action figure itself. The level of shading on this action figure is absolutely phenomenal. Every single nook and cranny and crevice is shaded a very dark purple. And a couple other things, I really like the Termagant's face, especially with the jawline, with the sinews. Now, as I was memeing around with posing this action figure earlier, unfortunately, I could not get this action figure to stand up properly without the plastic base that you see right here. It kind of needs that in order to help it stand. This guy is a very top-heavy action figure, so in a pose like this, it naturally wants to lean down like that. So obviously, if you're a Xenos fan, if you're a Tyranid fan, this is the basis of your whole entire Tyranid army, and I do believe this is really worth the price of admission, especially to give a nice foil to all the other Space Marines as well as the Xenos that have been released. I apologize if I sound like a salesman in this one, but hear me out. If you want more Xenos, and especially Tyranids, to be released, buy this action figure, because obviously JoyToy is a company and they want to see the dollar signs come in. And if the dollar signs don't come in, there's absolutely going to be no incentive for them to keep making more Tyranids or even more Xenos, in my opinion. And for right now, from what I see, these guys are actually sold out and they're due for a re-release sometime in July. So that is a good thing for you Tyranid fans, because there could be a potential that there might be more coming out. I would really love to see some Gene Stealers as well as a Patriarch. And if you want to pick this action figure up, click in the link in the description below, where you will be bought David Toys, and that's where I get all of my action figures. They have fantastic customer service as well as lightning quick shipping. And before you check out, do not forget to use the code SNS to receive 12% off of your purchase. And just to wrap up, once again, thank you so much, members of the chapter, for your viewership. Without you guys, I would not be here, and I appreciate each and every single one of you. And with that being said, I'll see you all in the next one.